I have a serious question. I promise this is serious and I'm not trolling. Has Ron Takahashi been the MVP of the VNL so far? I know a lot of you are going to think I'm trolling with that, but I promise I'm not. Because when Volleyball World announced that there would be a change to the MVP voting process, a change to how the awards were handed out, there was a lot of people who worried that a certain demographic of fans, or just fans in general, would flood the voting process and put in a bunch of players who maybe didn't deserve it. Maybe a little bit a la MLB All-Star Game that we saw earlier this week, where a bunch of players got voted in even though they didn't necessarily deserve it. And if you've been around volleyball long enough, you know who I'm talking about. There's a certain demographic of fans who are maybe a little newer to the game, and they are very passionate about their team. And they're very passionate about how impressive some of the players who play for that team are. And they're very vocal about that in, comment sections and on social media and the Discord, all over, the volleyball world. And I'll be very honest, when it comes to the fan vote for the MVP this year in the VNL, I honestly don't think it'll matter that maybe the weebs, as we've come to call them, are going to flood the vote for Ron Takahashi. Because I honestly think he's been the best player in the men's VNL this year. And yes, if you are an OG fan of this channel, this may come as a shock to you. I am the same guy who was once called racist on Twitter for suggesting that Ron wasn't the MVP when Monza made their run to the Lega Volley finals a couple years ago. I think it was like 23, 24. I am the same guy who's gotten arguments with Ron fanboys on the Discord until they would crash out and leave the server. I am that same guy. But it just should show you how objective I actually am when it comes to talking about volleyball. And I promise I'm not doing this for views, because whenever I have Ron in the thumbnail, my views shoot up. I promise I honestly think he has been the best player, the MVP, any way you put it, so far this year in the VNL. And you can even go back to some of my, grading videos when I've talked about Japan, and I've mentioned that I think he's been the best player in the MVP. And the MVP talk is not really one that happened. It's not really a talk that's happened in, European sports. It's more of a North American thing. It's something that we love to do. We love to have the GOAT talk. We love to have the MVP talk. So there's always a discussion around the MVP. Are you the MVP as in the best player in the league, or are you the MVP because it is most valuable player? Are you the most valuable player to your team? And honestly, Ron has been both. When we look at, the league overall, Ron is at the top of a lot of categories. He has been the third best scorer in the VNL with 184 points, averaging 4.60 points per set. He is third in the VNL with 157 kills, averaging 3.92 kills per set. He is also third in aces with 15 aces, averaging 0.38 aces per set. He is in the top 20 as well for receptions, averaging 53% positive receptions. He is all over the place, and he is realistically the only player who we find across all of these categories, right? When we go up here, when we look at the scoring and the attacking, there's obviously two players who are better than him in those cases, and that's Ferry Regers and Alex Nikolov. But neither of those guys are in the top servers or the top receivers. Obviously, Nikolov, Regers, not really known for their serve receive, even though both of them are questionable serve receivers sometimes. Alex technically plays on the right, but they play that outside hitter system where he's still allowed to pass. We've seen Regers line up on the left side throughout this VNL as well, but they're not putting up those kind of numbers. Neither of them are in the top three. And Nikolov is just a couple of aces behind Ryan, but still not as many. But at the end of the day, these are two guys who are doing it for teams who aren't even in the playoff picture right now, right? Regers and Belgium are just ahead of the relegation race, and Nikolov is fighting for his life to get into the playoffs. Whereas for Ron, he is the best player on the best team in the VNL who is currently undefeated. So it just goes to show, oftentimes, when we're looking at the best leagues around the world, whether it's like Italy or Poland, the top scorers aren't generally on the best teams. The top scorers are usually on lower level teams who just get fed a lot of balls. But that hasn't been the case so far this year for Ron in the VNL. He has just been outstanding. And if we go over to his personal stats here, we see where that continues. He is hitting a 54%, which is crazy for an outside hitter. 40% efficiency. That's not super high, but is still pretty damn good. His passing has been ridiculously good as well. As we mentioned before, 53% positive, 21% perfect on 207 targets. But his serving, man, he has been efficient. Generally, we see that, one ace to maybe 3 errors is about an acceptable ratio, right? Especially in men's volleyball, you're expected to take that risk and go for it hard. He is under a 1 to 2 ace to error ratio for 15 aces and only 22 errors. That is ridiculously good. And you see the numbers here. He is going back there and going on runs. I'll bet they have gone to 5 quite a bit in this VNL. Not as much as Canada, but they've gone to 5 quite a bit. That'll be interesting when they play tomorrow morning. And unfortunately, one of the pet peeves I have about stats, I have many pet peeves about stats in the volleyball world, but specifically for the VNL, I can't see the team stats. I'd love to have a page where it lines up all the players and it shows the leaders in every single categories. But we've seen that Ron has scored 184 points of Japan's overall 661 earned points. That averages about 27% of the offense. So that is pretty damn good. He's averaging just over a quarter of the points overall for Japan. And, I do have very many gripes about stat taking in the VNL. So I'm actually going to go over to the Volleymetrics account that I have. Shout out to the beauty who put me onto their team. You know who you are. I'll just shout it out. Shout out to Sean McKay from the University of Saskatchewan men's volleyball. Put me on their Volleymetrics account so I can peruse these stats all the time. But essentially, if you don't know, Volleymetrics is a website where all of the teams go and upload game footage. So whenever I do my film review, I use Volleymetrics games footage because it stats every single touch by every single athlete, and it's done by the staff. So it's done by the stat takers on the team, the dedicated video person. So it is not only more accurate because it's the actual staff members, it's like a professional who's going to be doing it, but it is also way more detailed and you can look into it a little bit more. So one thing we're going to notice first and foremost, Ran has been the only player on Japan who has played 100% of the sets so far for them in the tournament, right? They have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have played 9 matches of the 12 so far, and he has played in every single set so far. As we mentioned before, and as to be expected, he also leads them in points. He has 191 points. Next highest is Ishikawa with 122. Miyaura is down here with 88 points. And having played 80% of the games, Ishikawa's played 82%. All right, Everett from the future is just going to interject real quick here. I recorded this video right after Japan played Italy on, July 15th. It is now July 17th as I'm editing this video. I know Japan has played a couple of games since they went to 5 against Canada. I'm recording this video because I want to keep my head away from what Canada is doing. And then finally broke their 5-set streak and won 3-0 against Belgium. So a little bit has changed since when you're probably going to watch this video and when I actually, wrote and recorded it. And I know he didn't play great against Canada and actually got subbed off for the first time throughout this VNL. So that's just something to note while you're watching this. In attacking, it's the same thing. He's led them in most attempts so far. He leads them in kills so far with 162. He has the highest kill percentage on the team as an outside hitter, hitting at 55.3%. His efficiency is second best amongst outside hitters. Miyaura is slightly ahead of him, hitting a .409. Ron is hitting a .403. Now, if you are like Clayton Lucas and do not know how to read the numbers when they are like this, it's literally just a decimal system instead of a percentage system. You just take that dot, put it over by 2. So Miyaura would be hitting a 40.9%. Ron is hitting a 40.3%. So really not much changing between those two players. Next up is serve receive. And we'll see here that Ron has taken the second most attempts in serve receive. He's been served at 204 times of 691. But He is amongst, the guys who are actually out there, he has the best passing rating, passing at 2.35, which on a 3 scale, if you don't know what that means, essentially a perfect pass is a 3 pass, a good pass or a positive pass would be a 2 pass, a negative pass would be a 1 pass, and an error would be a time that you're aced. And then you add all of those together and you give your average. So this is what we generally do in North America. He's passing at 2.35, which is very, very good. And the best on his team of anyone who has over 10 attempts. And you'll see here that his good pass percentage is actually slightly higher, right? So based off of the Japanese system and based how they stat it, his good pass percentage is actually not the 53% that we see on Volleyball World. It's a 63.7, which is much, much higher. And it's the same thing when we go over to serves. He has the most attempts on the team, which means he's going back there, serving quite a bit. He's going on long runs. He is getting aces 9.3% of the time. Just more proof that he has been their best server. And while Japan isn't really known all that much for their blocking, he does have 14 stuff blocks, which leads the team. Once again, he has even more than Onodera, Larry, and Yamauchi, even more proof. And then he's also been their best digger, right? He has touched 90 balls. So 90 balls have been in his area for digging, and he's dug 96 of those, which once again is at the top of the team. He's got more than Yamamoto, who's got more than Fukatsu, and Fukatsu has played the next highest amount of sets. He's played 95% of the sets. It's just like a couple of sets in there against the US where he wasn't the starter. And Ron is digging 73.3 of the balls in his area, which is very, very Everett from the future again. Now, one of the frustrating things, once again, about the stats is that you have to find certain stats in different places, and the dig stats are only found on the Volleyball World website, not on the VNL website, and not on the Volley Station website, which is still owned by Volleyball World. I don't know why they're different. Well, let's be honest, we all know. But regardless, looking at the digging stats, Ran is currently in 6th with 72 digs, averaging 6.55 digs per match, not per set. Digs per match are pretty much an arbitrary number because you could be playing a 3-set match or you could be playing a 5-set match, which means you're going to be playing at least, which means you're going to be playing at least 40 more points in the match, which does give you a lot more opportunities. That's why everything should be done on a per set basis, regardless. But it is very impressive because he is the only outside hitter in the top 10. Well, I guess Vicentin is tied for 10th there, and he would also be the only outside hitter, but just further goes to show just how damn good Ron has been. And also, just a side note, I know a lot of you guys have been asking where I get my stats. The majority of my stats, like when I do my stat breakdowns, I literally just copy and paste from this page here. So when I compare the teams, I'll literally just grab all this and put it into my own stat sheet so I can, add everything in and do it per set. It's vnlm.volleystation.com. For the women's, it's vnlw.volleystation.com. So that's just a little note of where you can find stats. You can find it on the Volley Station website, or you can also go over on the Volleyball World website as well to find all of your stats. But yeah, just a little sidebar from Everett from the future. Good. So he is leading Japan in literally every single statistic, and they're undefeated. That is so damn good. And to me, he's really passed the eye test, right? There's been so many times where he has left me kind of speechless, where he's just hitting in tough situations against 3 blocks. Japan has been maybe not as clean as we're used to seeing them. I mean, we'll see up here, they've won already 5 games in 5, and they play Canada tomorrow morning, and Canada's another 5-set merchant, so I would not be surprised if that one goes to 5 sets as well. And Ran has been the guy, their go-to guy throughout. He has been the guy to get them out of sticky situations time and time again, but its ability to literally do it all. He's attacking incredibly well. He's serving incredibly well. His passing has been outstanding. His defense has been outstanding. He has really stepped up to be their go-to guy throughout the entirety of this VNL. So that's why if I was out there with Skip Bayless and, Stephen A. Smith, it doesn't matter to me if this conversation is about the best player in the VNL or the most valuable player for their team, because to me, Ran has been both of those things through 9 matches so far in the VNL.